like a Hellcat. Like a Hellcat.
That's a little bit better. It is a stunner from Fabio Quagliarella. Top again for Jacko, who's in for Roma and scores.
Ciao ragazzi, and welcome to another edition of Serie Sitdown, World Football Index's podcast of Calcio. Told like it is. I'm Frank Crivello. He's Richard Carmen. Ciao, Richard.
Ciao, Frank. How are we doing tonight?
We're doing great.
How's your voice? How's your voice? Because I know you were busy last night.
Yeah, still got the voice. I've got enough voice in me to get through one more of these. So let's do it. And Richard's referring to my appearance on Milan Weekly Podcast with Vinny and Steve. An unprecedented third appearance. No one's ever had more appearances as a guest on Milan Weekly Podcast. So I am at the top of the perch. Look right up, as they said. So the guests can all look right up at me. I'm putting myself over just a little too much. But I had to keep the background.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Liven up your background. I like it.
Yep, in celebration of the Derby victory for the Rossoneri. But how are you?
I'm good. Busy weekend, and week is starting out busy so far. So yeah, Champions League's back. I'm excited. Derby win. Couldn't be any more happier. So yeah, I'm gonna live as long as I can because I'm sure it's not gonna be all happy come the weekend. So.
Yep. Oh yeah. Your Schalke boys with the Riviera Derby. So.
No, Jerry's boys did a good number on them today. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we will get to that. We're going to talk about what went down in Champions League action today. A little bit later on the podcast, we'll preview Wednesday's games again and maybe get you set up for some Europa League on Thursday. Of course, the ever-growing in popularity Who Won Calcio Twitter, and I went through, and Richard was far busier than I was in getting the nominees going with that, which is a good thing because we have a boatload of them to go through again.
My goodness, they came out in colors, especially during that Napoli game.
Oh, absolutely. So we've got that to filter through. We'll do that a little bit later on, but let's get right down to business, Richard, and talk about what went down in that Derby della Madonnina on Saturday.
Yeah, that was obviously a big game, an epic game. We knew it was going to be a true test to see what Inter are made of and what Milan are made of. Two big clubs. Obviously, with form, it doesn't really matter in this game. And we had an interesting game, no doubt about it. Let's get with the lineups first. First for the home club, Inter in goal, Samir Handanovic, as you would expect. They went with a back three, an interesting back three of D'Ambrosio, De Vrij, and Kolarov. You had a midfield five of Hakimi, Brozovic, Vidal, Perisic, and Barella, and then up top you had, of course, Lukaku and Lautaro. First off, for the home squad, what did you make of the lineup, in particular the defense?
Well, I mean, it's a strong lineup any way you look at it. But I think what we were talking about in the build-up to it is please start Kolarov as a Milan fan. Because we've been harping on this ever since that move was made to Inter. That you have him in there for his set piece prowess, but his defensive qualities are far behind him. So you definitely like seeing that. D'Ambrosio, I actually think he's better on the right side of a back three than he is as a right fullback. Now now that's not a stretch because he's not very good as a fullback. So, so it was the back three that, maybe they had to play out of necessity with the issue with COVID, and hey, everybody's going to probably have to work through this, to some degree, to some capacity, as the season goes on. So it's a shame that, at least in Inter's case, as far as maybe putting out the quality that they have for back three, to not have it available for this derby. But I also go back and think about it. I don't really know what kind of difference Bastoni makes. Skriniar probably would have offered some quality, back there, and maybe things were going to be a little bit different. But I don't know if if what they started is too much of a departure from what their other options were.
That's fair. I think Bastoni and Skriniar probably bring a lot more of an upgrade than what is there. Kolarov is just a shit show waiting to happen, and especially defensively. Offensively, obviously he's got some little bit of skill left, and D'Ambrosio he is what he is. But let me put this to bed to rest real quick, because a lot of Interisti were saying, "Oh, we had a weekend lineup, we had COVID, blah blah blah." This is a pretty strong lineup.
Yeah, it is.
Defense aside, Hakimi, who's freaking fantastic. Brozovic is a Milan killer. Vidal is always good. Perisic is good. Barella is a freaking Azzurri star. And then Arturo and Lukaku are freaking their top dogs. So don't give me that, we're hurt. Yeah, you're not hurt. You had a strong lineup. Was it your best lineup? No. But it was like A-. Come on now. So I don't want to hear that, talk by them. But that defensive choice, it did leave me scratching. The rest of that lineup I thought was very strong, as I said. And to counter that, Milan came out with Donnarumma, back four of Calabria, Chiar, Romagnoli was back, and then Theo Hernandez obviously left back. And obviously people are going to talk about Theo versus Hakimi all matchup long. In the midfield, you had Benacer, Kessier, and then Salamaker, excuse me. And then on top, you had Çalhanoğlu, Leao, and Ibrahimovic. Probably one of the better lineups they could field for Milan's case. Everyone's healthy. Everyone's back from COVID, including Zlatan. Yeah,
he had a 4-2-3-1 there. I think that, you'd probably, if he was available, you would have liked Rebic up there with Ibra. And, two-man, it's something that they've done in the past, but, that's not available. But I think that this is a strong team, because it has qualities to be able to nullify what Inter wants to do going forward in certain spots. And then you're able to counter through guys like Ibra. Leao has some creativity to him and can run at people and can dribble and things like that. And I think that that's essential to have if you're going to, play that sort of style and have something that have someone that has some different dynamics. And, and Salamakers, which, Stevie and Vinny and I talked about last night, he is growing and growing and growing into his role in this team. So that definitely was out of what was available to Milan, maybe the best that they could have put out there.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I think you guys last night had a great points done that you would think Inter would try to challenge Calabria on the right hand side, but between him and Salamakers, they didn't even attempt that. Really, it was really they're going after Theo Hernandez, which is beyond me too. I agree with everything you guys were saying, and to their credit, Leao really wasn't helping defensively, so I can see why they're trying to exploit that. But Milan did a great job overall, I think. For me, we'll get to how the game went, but the lineup that they had, especially in that midfield, I thought was very good. Salamakers, to your guys' point last night, he's really starting to adjust to Serie A very quickly, and it's good to see because he's starting to come more and more to this lineup. Is who we want at right wing? Not necessarily, but he's better than what we could have at the moment. I mean, Castillejo has been up and down, and I mean, who else are you going to put until Hauga gets to get his feet wet in Serie A? We won't know what to expect from him. So, good lineup, a strong lineup, and obviously Zlatan, he's a big game performer, and the fireworks started early. It was pretty, it looked like a heavyweight bout, early on. We weren't sure who's going to get the first goal, but Milan will get the first attack where Zlatan will get the ball, had a defender on him, and I forget who the defender was who tackled him, but he made a nice move on him. Draws the fouls. Kolarov, of course.
Kolarov, yeah.
Fouls him in the box. Ibra did a good job of, I thought he was too slow on that play because he should have got the shot off, but it obviously worked out. He got a penalty. First off, was it a penalty for you?
Oh, that was definitely a penalty.
Yeah, I think it was.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's smart running from Ibra off the ball to set it up, kind of get in between De Vrij and Kolarov there, and get himself in a situation where he can exploit Kolarov, and that's exactly what they did with the through pass. And he's running, Kolarov's recovering, and getting the penalty area. And then Ibra's trying to create some space for a shot, and Kolarov trips him up. So exactly why we say Kolarov can't defend, because he got exposed there.
Yeah, and Interisi around the world were screaming they're pulling their hair out because of freaking Kolarov, and Milan fans were celebrating because of that. So Ibrahimovic steps up for the penalty. It gets saved by Handanovic, but he gets a rebound quickly, pounces back of the net.
Yep.
Just like that, Milan are up 1-0. And before he could say derby victory, just 5 minutes later, or maybe 3 minutes later, Ibrahimovic gets another goal. Wonderful play that started from the back where Salamakers made a beautiful turn past the defender. Ends up getting it to Leao on the left-hand side. He crosses it in, and Ibra with a fantastic finish, 2-0, just like that. Very reminiscent of what we saw in last second half of the last season in the derby. So 2-0 right off the bat, Frank. You had to be jumping for joy.
Yeah, it was exciting. I thought that those first and maybe a few minutes after that, I thought those first 20 minutes were relatively balanced. Inter was probing, and they're particularly probing on the right-hand side through Hakimi. Where Milan were trying to counter, hit on the break, and try to create some things. But it was, boom, boom, get out to a quick 2-goal lead. It puts you, as Steve's pointing out, worst lead in sports is 2-0 early. I'll say that a 2-goal lead is the most dangerous lead to have at any point in a game, except maybe in the dying embers of a game where, and even then it's not safe, because it's now and especially that early in the game now. Milan has to make a decision, and Pioli has to make a decision. Do we impose ourselves in hopes of getting a third, or do we say, hey, this is good enough, this should get us through if we're smart, and we try to ride this thing out? So you're in that delicate balance that you're going for a third, but you don't want to concede one. And especially that early in the game, that's where Milan found themselves. It was a beautiful counterattack. It's my goal. It's my goal of the week.
Okay.
Just of how clinical it was all the way around. The turn from Salamakers.
Oh, beautiful.
And then, just the presence of mind for Çalhanoğlu to quickly swing the ball over to Leao, where he's left 1v1 with D'Ambrosio. And that is where Leao's quality. You just wish Leao's more consistent. Yeah. But I mean, he damn near broke D'Ambrosio's ankles. Good morning, George, or good evening. He damn near broke D'Ambrosio's ankles, and you could see right away as that play was developing, where's Ibra going? He's going on the back shoulder. He's going on the blind spot of Kolarov. And the first second that I said when Leao, once he got past him, said, clip it in, just get it curled, across that back line. And it was pinpoint. Ibra finishes it. This was my goal of the week. So just the nature of it, how quickly to get after it and get that second goal after getting the first, and leave Inter rocking a little bit.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. But I was well, happy as I was very hesitant, because I remember all too well what happened last year. We went up 2-0 early, and it came back to bite us. So we couldn't hold that lead, and Inter came and stormed back. And that was my biggest worry after that, to see how the team would react. It didn't take Inter very long to react. It took them maybe just 13 minutes later. Poor defensive marking. Lukaku pretty much had a tap in on the 29th minute for the goal. 2-1 just like that. And I'm like, oh, here we go. What's going to happen? But despite all the action, it was a very fun, entertaining first half. It didn't end up 2-1 at halftime. For the most part, I thought it was a fairly even bout at that point. Obviously Hakimi was all over Teo in the first half for good reason. But for overall, I think it was pretty even overall, and 2-1 was a deserved scoreline going into halftime. Yeah,
a few things that I took note of from what I saw in the first half. First of all, the goal that Milan conceded was, that was a total team switch off. Kolarov starts coming forward with the ball, and it was a moment where it looked like nobody in the red and black knew what to do. Should somebody confront him? Should everybody sit? And it caught everybody flat-footed enough, especially Calabria, to start with, to allow Perisic to get in behind him and get to a ball. And then when he put the ball across, it's Calabria for getting, for allowing Perisic to get behind him. Teo's positioning, I think where he is fine, but he's not in a spot where he can step in and clear the ball coming across from Perisic. He's got his back to Lukaku. He's got his back to anybody else coming in. If you can arrive there early, it's really hard. And in the flow of play, this is something that's really hard for defenders to do. But they've got, if there's a way, just the last couple steps to just turn yourself so that you can see the ball as it's getting ready to come across. You can see where your man is in that situation, because Lukaku does a nice job, much like Ibrahimovic getting on the blind side of Kolarov. Lukaku does well to get on the blind side of Teo. And if Teo turns himself a little bit with those last couple steps, he might have a chance of attacking that cross and getting it away. So, I mean, it was a complete switch off where Milan were forced to react one pass after the next. It was one of the poorest, one of the more poor defensive moments that they had. So when you look at that, Benacer is tasked with man marking Barella, and I thought that was a brilliant move by Pioli.
Yeah.
And you knew it right off the bat. And I said this on Milan Weekly Pod last night. I said 5 minutes in, Barella went chasing a ball in the left-hand corner that you think, okay, Calabria will go deal with that. And Benacer is tracking it. And that tells you right off the bat, okay, we've got man marking on Barella with Benacer. And I thought that was smart, because you get around him and you get close to him when he's got the ball. When you get to him, what did he do in the Italy game? He got space and he played a curling diagonal ball for Pellegrini to score against the Netherlands. Beautiful. He's capable of those kinds of passes. And if you get room and if you don't get to him, he's going to pull you apart. And with the dynamics that they have up front with Lautaro and Lukaku, you can't afford to let a player like Barella have that space to play those kind of passes, or even Hakimi coming forward. So I thought that was smart. Benacer's really only mistake defensively when he dealt with Barella was Barella's chance on goal, because it originated about 25 yards from goal or something like that. And Benacer went reaching for a ball. And Barella was able to sidestep him. And then I think he did a give and go or a 1-2 with Lukaku, got the ball back, and then Donnarumma made the save. That was the only moment where Benacer tripped up in that assignment. So it made Barella a non-factor throughout the derby. And it was a great decision by Pioli.
Hey, Lisi's in the house. How you doing, Lisi? It was a great performance there by Benacer. I thought in terms of Teo, to Anthony's point, he did get a little bit exposed. Obviously, Hakimi is a freaking dynamic player who can get up on the attack, and Teo had trouble with him. But also Lukaku, in the past, a player like Lukaku doesn't have the speed. He's bulky, he's strong, but he's lost a lot of weight. And I could have bet anybody all kinds of money that Teo was faster than Lukaku. Didn't look like it at the derby. Granted, Teo's probably faster with the ball than he is without the ball. But, I mean, he kept trying to go shoulder to shoulder with Lukaku, and he kept losing that battle. And obviously, Lukaku's a big, strong man. You're not going to be able to take him down unless you're freaking Frank Kessie. So, he tried his best. And, to your guys' credit last night, he needs help, especially when there's attackers like that. And Leao or whomever's in the midfield needs to help out. Benacer was doing his job on Barella. He needs a little bit more help defensively in that kind of spec, because you looked at the right side, Calabria had a really strong game. He's had a strong start to the season, but he's getting help from Salamakers. Salamakers is tracking back all the time, and that's where the second goal led up, because he got it from the defensive end, made that turn, and then off we go on the counterattack. So if they can balance that out, I think they're going to be a really difficult team to beat. They are as they are right now, but 2-1 and coming out of halftime, start the second half.
Let me jump. I'm sorry. Let me jump in real quick about Teo. I think I tweeted about every 10 minutes throughout the match, Teo's been poor. Teo has been poor. Teo's been poor. The more I've been able to digest it, even after last night, I mean, I think he got so overworked defensively that it impacted what he could do when we went forward. And his technique and his decision making in certain spots was fine. His technique was so poor. I mean, he underhit passes. He couldn't connect anything. He couldn't combine with forwards or anything like that. And I think it was just that was a product of being so overrun defensively, because Inter overloaded that side so much and left him vulnerable, that there wasn't anything for him to give when it was when the opportunities were there for him to go forward.
Yeah, no, I agree about that 100%. And then in the second half, I wanted to see, can Milan keep this up defensively? Would Inter get into the next gear that we were fully expecting, like they did last year? And it was a good back and forth game. To Stevie's point, Frank Kessié was just a monster in that game. Really helped out with Lukaku a lot. I mean, the one person who could really, just manhandle him, and it's just hard to say that with Lukaku. And overall, teams are taking chances, back and forth. It was a very entertaining derby, I thought, overall. We started seeing substitutions coming out. You just Salamakers for Castillejo. That's pretty common. We expected that. Leao was starting to make more mistakes than contribute, and they finally got him off for Krunic. A little bit defensive substitution there. Made sense. I was happy when Brozovic came off for Eriksson, because Brozovic has always been a Milan killer. So you get him off the pitch, you're thinking the opportunities to come back into the game is going to lessen. And then for me, to the opposite note, Alexis Sanchez comes in, late in the game, 84th minute or so. I was worried about him. He's been a difference maker for Inter. And I was afraid coming at the end of the game that he was going to find a way to get that goal in. Granted, Lukaku had a great opportunity in stoppage time, but Milan stout defensively. Chiar was great. Romagnoli was great. Calabria was great. Midfield was great. They just eked out a victory in the game. For me, man of the match is Frank Kessié, hands down. I just thought the performance he had with Lukaku and everybody else, just what he did in that midfield, controlling it. For me, he was the best player in the game. What was your thoughts on how the game ended?
I'll look at it from the perspective of both teams. I think this was Brozovic's. This had to have been Brozovic's worst derby. From as far as I can remember, it was right for him to get subbed off. He didn't offer anything going forward, and usually he's a threat. He usually bosses the midfield the way Kessie bossed it. I remember the game. I remember the derby a couple of seasons ago when we had Nima on afterward and talked about it. And when Nainggolan had to go out injured, Brozovic just took the responsibility of that space and his. And he's done things like that, or last February's derby where he hits that volley to bring Inter back into the game. I mean, he does moments where he steps up in this game, and this was clearly his worst derby. So that was one thing. Cassie's a great shout. I thought Simon Chiar was outstanding, though. I think that he had everybody composed. He's exactly what you need back there. Now, if that's Musacchio back there, Milan probably lose this game 3 or 4-2 because he doesn't have the experience, the composure, the calm that that goal that Milan conceded, and it's 2-1, to just get everybody together and say, hey, we're fine. It happened. Let's just not give up another one, where Musacchio is the bull in the china shop that gets booked or gets sent off. Yeah. Because he's pressing now all of a sudden because he doesn't want to give up another one, where Chiar plays with a hell of a lot more composure. So I mean, if you could coin flip between Kessie and Chiar as far as the best, as far as the man of the match, and I won't fight you if you wanted to pick either one of those guys. I like your shout about Chiar because we all know he's a little slow foot, right? And what he makes for is intelligence, positioning. We saw that a couple of times in the game where Arturo or whomever try to make a move around him, get around, and he just played it perfectly positionally, and then eventually stops and blocks the shot. You're like, where did he come from? How did he do that? It's smart intelligence there from Chiar. And so some of that you saw throughout the game. It wasn't just in the beginning or in the middle. It was all throughout. And at the end, he was very clutch for them. So, yeah, great shout. I like it. One of those two players. Where Milan need to worry going forward, one of the things that I noticed, and this was something that I wrote down, I think, a couple of times when the second half was going on. First of all, the first half was played at a very fast pace, very technical. Good quality from both sides. The second half was extremely choppy. A lot of cheap giveaways by both teams in dangerous areas. I think there was a lot of fatigue. There was a lot of late challenges that suggest to you it's fatigue, players arriving late. So there's a lot of that going on. But, here's something that I noticed about Milan that that should concern Milan fans going forward unless they figure out how to fix it. Inter absolutely killed Milan in the second half at getting on the blind side of defenders in crossing situations. Absolutely killed them.
Yeah.
Defenders are ball watching, and they're watching the crosser. Nobody sees Hakimi on his chance. Nobody sees Lukaku on his chance. And there are going to be teams that pick up on that, and teams that love to cross the ball. I mean, Hellas Verona is coming up. That is a team that'll cross the ball. They don't have the talented striker that Inter do, but you know who does have the talented that has talented strikers? Sampdoria, and they're among the first 10 games. And what are they doing? They're serving balls in. This Algello guy is a find for them. Man, they got Candreva, and guess who's in that penalty area? Quagliarella and Gabbiadini. So
let's ask Jerry how they did this weekend.
yeah, this is something that Milan need to sort out, because they were getting absolutely killed, and it only needed, and on a different day, Inter are scoring a lot of these chances, and Milan are on the losing end of this derby. That's something that we shouldn't forget. And as a result, I come away saying, it's a great win. We should celebrate it. We should enjoy it. But Milan were a little lucky to get out of there with 3 points in the end.
Exactly. And that's another thing too. Like the Interista are talking about, oh, we're hurt by COVID, this and that. It's like, you guys could have won. You missed opportunities. Yeah. Lukaku missed opportunities. Barella, Hakimi, a bunch of guys are missing opportunities. So Inter could have won the game, or at least drew the game. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot as well. So, I mean, Milan did well, no doubt about it. But Inter were there for the taking. I mean, for there to take Milan, and they just didn't get their opportunities. And, it happens in the derby sometimes, but usually Milan are the ones who are on the wrong end of the score line. First time, 4 years that they've gotten no victory. So, yeah. Another thing I wanted to ask you a question was the refereeing. Yeah. A lot of comments were made about the refereeing. He let a lot of things go, as you would expect in the derby. Yeah. What were your thoughts about that? Because I actually liked it. Especially I know the play that sticks in my mind is when Theo and Lukaku are going shoulder to shoulder. They take each other out. No call. There shouldn't have been, because they're both going for the ball. I like that. What were your thoughts on that? Too lenient? Not what do you
let
think?
Let him play.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm a big fan. Hey, let him play.
I hate the whistles. Constant whistles. Takes the flow out of the game completely.
There's nothing more annoying than a referee that makes it about himself.
Yeah.
Lisi's in here. He's our resident referee, and I hope he agrees.
I thought you were going to say he was known for that.
No, I haven't seen him referee to pass that kind of judgment. So, given how he likes to try to fight with me on Twitter sometimes, I think he does make it about himself in games. But again, I've never seen him ref. Hi, Michael.
He likes him letting play. So
good. Yeah, love that. Love that he let him play. Yeah, absolutely. It's a derby. Let these guys play.
Yeah.
There's certain things that it's okay to let go. I found it, and Michael, I want to get your take. Michael, if you're in chat, just answer this. What I want is your take on the no penalty call on the VAR review. That brought up a little bit of controversy. Now, to me, I found that to just be the strictest interpretation of the offside law. Just because it originated with Eriksen trying to play a ball while Lukaku was in an offside position. There's no question about that, but it caroms off of a couple of Milan players. And the question is, is he offside anymore because of Milan's involvement with the ball? Or like I said, when I said it on Milan Weekly Pod last night, I said that to me was the strictest. Yeah, and this is what led to the penalty. The penalty was, Donnarumma bringing Lukaku down, which, that was 50-50 whether or not you call that a penalty. Donnarumma was trying to avoid the contact, and and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I would have called that.
Yeah, but I go originally to the offside that ruled it out, and I find it to be just the strictest interpretation of that law and the strictest execution of that law, because you could have very well made the argument that it was a Milan player that ended up playing the ball, technically speaking. So Lisi, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that when you get a chance.
Yeah, my interpretation was, if a defender had touches the ball, it null and voids that offsides, and it should be continue on. But obviously not, because that's what they called, and
it has to be intentionally played by the defender. If it deflects off of him, that's not, that's not, and that's what the law says. That's my understanding of it, at least. It's weird and looks strange, but it's offside. Definitely the strictest version of it. You nailed it when you talked about it. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, they followed the offside law pretty much to the letter on that. Because if it's a deflection, he's off. Has to be intentional. Yeah, it has to be intentional. The defender has to intentionally play in an offside player for it to not be offside. So, and that's the way I understood it. So that was probably the one big controversy. I know that, and I coach youth soccer, and I know the rules more than the referees do that I get. So mail me a badge and mail me some rule books so I can give them to the referees that I work with.
There you go. At least he'll take care of you. It's so the game ends 2-1. Milan finally wins a derby in a long time. Their next couple of games are a little difficult. Roma, obviously, who had a big win this weekend, we'll talk about. And then Udinese, who also had a nice victory. Inter have a little bit easier schedule in terms of Serie A. They have Genoa and then Parma, who are struggling very mightily this year.
Yeah, they're not good.
No. So, I think, well, at least for Inter, their focus maybe should turn to Europe. They got some big games coming up. But overall, I wouldn't worry for either of these teams. I wouldn't, if you're a Milan fan, get too high on this because it's only 4 games. And if you're an Interisti, if you lost a game, so what? Just keep going. I think there's pieces there. Yeah, Conte didn't have the greatest game. It's the first time he's lost to Milan in his career. But I think Inter are still in a position where they're going to be strong this season and they're going to be in the top 4, no doubt about it. So how do you think both these teams are just relaxed? It's one game, don't worry?
I mean, it's so early in the season and so much can happen.
It is.
And
Scudetto, other people saying we're getting relegated. It's like too early.
And the point I'll keep making is that, after 10 games, you've got a pretty good idea of what you are. Yeah. Whether you're a Scudetto contender, whether you're a top 4 contender, whether you're trying to make Europe or whether you're trying to survive the drop. Yeah. I think 10 games is a good enough sample size. You're playing teams in various parts of the table that are going to be perceived to be in various parts of the table that can give you an idea of what kind of team you are and what kind of team you are going to be, the rest of the way. So, 4 games in, Milan fans embrace it, enjoy it. Inter fans, it's not time to press the panic button by any stretch.
One game.
This season is very, very long. There's 34 games left for everybody. There's a long, long way to go. So it's a great win for Milan. It adds to their story. It adds to what they've accomplished here in 2020. It's been amazing to be undefeated for as long as they have been. And for Inter, it's part of the process. And in Interisti, I have an issue with you complaining about the team that got put out. This is why you have a deep squad, to be able to deal with situations like this. This is why they reach in the pockets and invested in the players so that you can deal with situations like this. And that team that you put out is still strong enough to beat everybody in this league. So it's kind of a shortcut excuse, and it's a poor one. That Inter lineup could beat at least 15 teams in this league.
They could have beat Milan. They missed their own.
Could have beat Milan. Yeah.
So absolutely. I mean, that's a very good team. Is it the team that they would prefer? No, obviously not. But that's a pretty damn strong lineup. I'm sorry.
Agree 100%. So that was the derby. At Serie Sitdown on Twitter or Instagram with your thoughts on what you saw and the fortunes of those teams going forward. Also, another big game on Saturday that preceded the Derby della Madonnina was Napoli and Atalanta. Napoli on the heels of just removed from some harsh judgment against them as we've beaten to death and as everybody is beaten to death and docked a point and all this other madness that went on, lest we forget, prior to that, they had 2 games where they beat Parma 2-0 and it wasn't even close. They beat Genoa 6-0 and probably could have beat them 12-0. So we were waiting for that game against a quality opponent to see how it would look and what it would be. Well, here comes Atalanta, and all of the free scoring and attacking that they've been doing, scoring 8 goals, scoring 13 goals in their first 3 games. Challenge accepted, and it was at the San Paolo. Let's look at the lineups, Richard. It was Ospina in goal, back 4 of Di Lorenzo, Manolas, Koulibaly, and Husai. Bakayoko makes his first appearance with Napoli in a double pivot with Fabian Ruiz. And then they went with Politano, Mertens, and Lozano behind Victor Osimhen. For me, a very aggressive lineup, but also with that double pivot, enough balance.
Yeah, no, don't doubt. When I saw Bakayoko was in there next to Fabian, I was like, that's brilliant. That is brilliant because we know what Bakayoko is going to bring, and Fabian is going to get more opportunity to be a little bit more offensive as well, but also maintaining to his playmaking skills. So I thought that was a brilliant move there, and I was excited to see that. The only question mark I had, which got quickly relinquished, was putting Irving Lozano in the left wing spot. I was like, is that going to work? We've predominantly seen him on the right-hand side. I know Far From Vesuvius podcast, we're questioning that as well. Like, do we like him out there on the left wing? We learned that answer quickly, whether we liked it or not. But that was my only concern going into that game. But the rest of the lineup, I mean, it looked a really solid lineup for sure. And obviously, you love Victor Osimhen up top.
And Atalanta with Sportiello, back three of Toloi, Romero, and Palomino. Fabio De Paoli getting his first start in Atalanta colors as the right wing back with Gozens to the left. Pasalic and Deron were in the middle. Josip Ilicic returned with Papu Gomez and Duvan Zapata up front. I mean, this is the trio that you're going to have with Atalanta when they're all fit. Gomez, Ilicic, Zapata, and good luck rest of the world. Yeah. When Gasperini unleashes that on you. But this is an Ilicic that first game back, you knew it wasn't gonna, he wasn't gonna be out there long. It's a get his legs under him kind of game. What are your thoughts with in a game like this, a big game, a team that you're going to be rivaling for league position as the season goes on, seeing guys like De Paoli and taking your chances with Ilicic returning to a game like this?
Yeah, with taking the chances on Ilicic, I thought that was a little brazen. I would have brought him on in the second half, let someone else start who's been playing well, and then bring on Ilicic at the end for a cameo, and hopefully he can, bring some kind of X factor to the game. Hopefully it's a close game at that point, or you're leading at that point. To start him early in the game, knowing that he's probably not going to last the whole time, was maybe a little too premature. But Gasperini has been done some brilliant, choices here for the longest time, and so you can't really question him on that. De Paoli, I like the move for De Paoli, getting him some legs there. But we had talked about the one chink in the armor for Atalanta is their defense, and the lineup that they put out there. Toloi is someone we've seen all the time, and Palomino as well. Romero was we talked about how he's been a little iffy to start the season as well, and so we knew that's probably a weak area for me. And the rest of the lineup was really strong, and can't say too much bad. I was happy to see De Paoli get the opportunity, really, because I think he deserves it. He's been playing really well. He had played well last season. Now he gets, with Atalanta, he's had some nice contributions in the first couple games. So it was nice to see him get a start. I think he deserved it. And unfortunately for him, it was on a losing effort.
Mm-hmm. What if I told you the possession was even in the first half? You wouldn't have thought that, given how this first half went.
I would have thought you're lying. Yeah,
it was 51-49. From a percentage standpoint, but it was what you do with that possession. And boy, Napoli went way beyond what you would think you'd get out of 51% possession. Lozano with a brace in the 23rd and 27th minute. Politano with a goal of the week candidate for me in the 30th. That was a beautiful strike. Yeah. And then Osimhen getting his first goal assisted by David Ospina.
Beautiful.
We knew there would be goals in this game. You had to expect with these two teams there was going to be goals in this game, but 4-0 at halftime. How surprised were you to see this get so one-sided?
I was shocked. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Napoli were doing Atalanta things to Atalanta is what they were doing. This is what you expect from Atalanta. We've seen Atalanta do it to everyone, basically. But to see Napoli get that first goal really got obviously they're full of confidence. We've seen the way they played this season. You talk about Genoa, they could have scored 20 goals in that game. They have a lot of confidence, but to score so early against a good opponent, I think gave them even more confidence, and they just rolled off of that. And then Lozano getting a brace early on. Osimhen was all over the place in all the goals. He didn't necessarily get the first assist, but he got a hockey assist or second or third area assist. He was everywhere, his fingerprints everywhere. Ospina, the game plan with him, because he's obviously a good passer. That goal that Osimhen got from Ospina, it wasn't the first time they tried it, and it wasn't the last time they tried it. He would throw these long kicks down the field and trying to find Osimhen to find someone else, and it worked a lot of the times. And so a great game plan. The midfield, Bakayoko and Fabian just dominated that midfield. What a brilliant job. And the passing that we saw from Napoli is what we come to expect from Atalanta. Quick passing, constantly changing the field of play, switching the play. It was beautifully done. They really didn't drag their feet around. They kept it quick and kept Atalanta guessing. And then when Atalanta had the ball, the constant pressure they had on them, forcing the turnovers. Atalanta aren't used to people pressing them the way Napoli did. And full credit goes to Gattuso. People want to say he's not that great of a manager. He did a pretty great job in this game of what the tactics and the manner that they attacked Atalanta. That's the way you have to attack them. And look what it was, proof in the pudding, 4-0 in the first half.
I thought the double pivot was smart, because then you've got Ruiz and Bakayoko working together in front of that back four to try to help diffuse things and try to help diffuse any kind of passing coming in. You're making Gomez going in some different places. You got an Ilicic that I thought that was a labored first half from him. Yeah. And a labored performance from him altogether. He only lasted 63 minutes, which you had to expect, but 37 touches and he lost possession 14 times. That's not something that you come to expect from a player of Ilicic's quality. Yeah. Zapata, it was a struggle. I'm surprised they didn't stick with what was working. And I understand a Champions League game, on the horizon that, and it tells me that maybe in a sense they want to make sure they prioritize getting off to a better start in the Champions League than they did last year. Yeah. But I don't understand. I would have probably preferred the pairing of Muriel and Zapata with Gomez behind him, because that is what they've been doing in the first 3 games, and it has worked to a T.
I agree.
So,
and Stevie's got a good point. Napoli also looked like they're playing pissed off. They're trying to prove a point. I think they did. Yep.
And they're going to have to go out and get it now, under the circumstances. So, second half, Atalanta got a little bit more of the ball, started generating some things, nothing of note except for this young kid, Sam Lammers, who has now scored 2 goals in 2 appearances for Ledea. On an assist from Christian Romero, playing him over the top, and he getting in, and just Atalanta, they find these guys that where nobody else is looking.
Yeah, it's amazing the way they can conjure up this the scouting that they do to find these kind of players. It's really amazing, and no matter who they get, you're like, who the hell is this guy? What's he going to do? And you're like, okay, he can score goals. Okay, never mind. I'll just be on my way. The scouting that Atalanta does is really fantastic, and they find players that fit their style. They don't buy the player. They don't look for the names. They look for what you contribute. Are you a playmaker? You have goals. You have good runs. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for something that fits them, not them fitting the players. So brilliant job by them, but did not work for them out in this game. I thought, people were talking about how Napoli were kind of let their foot off the pedal, but you're up 4-0. You want to be smart about it afterwards. You don't want to continue being reckless and trying to score goals and maybe get injured or something like that. So overall, I thought Napoli would just play that perfectly. Gattuso's got to given all the credit in the world for the game plan they employed on Gasperini. I mean, who would have thought Gasperini would have been outmanaged by Gattuso? Not many.
Again, I don't as great a start this is for Napoli and as a disaster as this was for Atalanta. It's one game, and I got to treat this like I treat the derby. It's one game. I'm impressed with Napoli. My tune is starting to change about them a little bit. I said that's great, but do this against a better team, or do this against a better, maybe do this against a better organized team. I don't want to move the goalposts on Napoli here because Atalanta is a quality side. I picked them to finish second, and I picked Napoli to finish 6th. I mean, I think I would probably put Napoli 5th at this point. But a better organized outfit, how are they going to handle it? Because you're looking at an Atalanta team that for all of their, all of the positivity that they have going forward and all the attacking energy, through 4 games, they've conceded 9 goals. Now, 4 of them against Napoli. But 5 in 3 games prior to that, 2 to Torino. And I can't remember, they had 1 against, it'll come to me. I should just look at their games. Yeah. But 2 to Cagliari. to the Torino. 1 to Lazio. Which is impressive to hold Lazio to a goal. Yeah. With what they do going forward, but not the most airtight defense to start the season. If we really, really want to nitpick at Napoli, but what they did in that first half was just mesmerizing.
Beautiful. It was. The passing. That's what mesmerized me is the passing. It was just the movement. It was no static in the attacking flow. This guy's constantly moving around. Osimhen was just everywhere, making brilliant runs and everything. I mean, that's beautiful. That's what they've been missing is someone like Osimhen to really contribute to the game, make those channel runs and stuff like that, like he has been setting up his teammates as a big striker should. Fantastic. And I said to you last podcast, I said, Napoli are right there on the cusp for me. They've always been fifth, just behind Milan. I said, if they had a big win against Atalanta, I would move them to my top four. It is one game. Granted, it's one game. But, based on now, if we did like a weekly rankings, like who's hot, who's not, I'm taking Juventus out of my top four and I'm putting Napoli over them. Okay. But I never ranked. I had, just for context, I had Juventus probably around third before that. So it wasn't a big drop off for me. So, but yeah, I'm high on Atalanta, but it's one game. It's early. Okay. Let's see what to do against some other opponents, some other big opponents.
Yeah, I'm not ready to move anything around just yet. I mean, the only things that I would move is I think I had, I've got Juve, Atalanta, Inter, Milan as my top four. I had Napoli sixth, but that was on the premise that Koulibaly would have gone in the Mercato. He didn't. So if I changed it, I'd be looking at Napoli fifth, Roma sixth, Sassuolo seventh, Lazio eighth. Is probably how I would change it, where I had Lazio fifth. Now I'm dropping them to eighth. Sassuolo seventh and still seventh. Roma was eighth earlier, but now I'd move them into sixth.
I wonder
some of the things I've seen.
I wish we had some Napoli guys in here because there's a good question in the chat where it says, what does Gattuso do when Insigne comes back? Lozano's been playing really well as of late, and obviously 2 goals against Atalanta. I mean, if say he continues his hot streak, Lozano does. He's a streaky kind of player. We've seen that in the Netherlands. If he continues being hot and then Insigne comes back, what do you do? Mertens is obviously someone you need to have on the pitch. With the pieces they have out there right now, it seems to be working very well. Politano is playing really, really well. Both him and Lozano, I thought, had really great games. Better than expected for me. So it's a good problem to have if you're Gattuso, but it's one I'm sure he can manage fine because you have to be careful with those kind of moves. Yes, he's a fan favorite, Insigne is, but if you got players that are playing lights out, why are you going to mess with the flow? Bring him in slowly, and then if he starts getting hot, then you can switch it out. But that's be difficult.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, I think they would probably tell you that they would move Lozano back over to the right, and Politano would be back on the bench.
Sure. Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows? They got a great thing going on in Napoli. They're on fire right now, and let's see if they can continue it. So, on to the rest of the batch of the games. Lazio, ugh. 3-0 to Sampdoria at the Marassi. It opened up with a Quagliarella goal from Tommaso Augello. Tommaso Augello getting his own in the 41st. And then in the 74th, for good measure, Mikel Damsgaard, assisted by Valerio Vere. Lazio didn't even get a shot on target in this game. That's how bad they were. Crotone and Juve go to a 1-1 draw, a penalty in the 12th minute scored by Ceane. It would be Alvaro Morata in the 21st minute on an assist from Federico Chiesa. Chiesa gets sent off in the 60th minute. Was that fair?
Yes, I think so.
I think so too.
He's been reckless all game long, and he was already on a yellow. He should be smarter about that.
Morata had a goal called back in the 79th minute after a VAR review, which they got correct. So going on to Sunday's games, very early in the morning, and if you woke up, it was worth it. Bologna and Sassuolo. It was Bologna feeling good about life. They got out to a 3-1 lead after 60 minutes. Those goals coming from Soriano, Svanberg, and Orsolini. Domenico Berardi getting a goal in the 18th minute. But then the comeback would be on Filip Juricic from Caputo in the 64th minute. Caputo would head one home in the 70th, and then a Tomiyasu own goal in the 77th minute. These teams combined for 39 shots in this game. No shortage of, I think, didn't they play each other in the restart and have something ridiculous like 53 shots? I know Sassuolo was in. Was it Sassuolo and Bologna?
I believe it was. They had like 40 shots. Bologna or Sassuolo had like 40 shots themselves, I think, in that game or something crazy.
Yeah, they get together. they get together and there's more shots than passes when they play each other. So Spezia and Fiorentina, this was, well, you know what? Iachini just keeps dropping points, and at some point he's got, Comiso's got to figure this out with him. They get out to a 1-0 lead through Pazzella from Biraghi. Biraghi would score one himself. This was 4 minutes into the game, Fiorentina jumping out to that 2-0 lead. But then it would be Spezia rallying in the 39th minute. Daniele Verdi is a very, very intriguing pickup for them.
24 years old, right? He's young guy.
Right. And scoring here, making it 2-1. And then Diego Farias in the 75th minute, bringing Spezia back, making it 2-2. Torino and Cagliari, I watched a pretty good chunk of this game. Go ahead. You can say it. I was the one, huh?
Yeah.
Andrea Belotti.
Go ahead.
Yep. Andrea Belotti penalty in the 4th minute. Correct penalty. Lukic got past Godin and then got taken down by Cranio. And then in the 12th minute, Joao Pedro from Velukovic, ball that kind of caromed around off of a corner. Giovanni Simeone scoring in the 19th. Belotti with a nice volley there in the 49th minute to level things at 2-2 before Simeone pouncing on a Sirigu error in the 73rd minute to give Cagliari the 3-2 win in a battle between coaches that are trying to resurrect their careers, Giampaolo at Torino and EDF at Cagliari. Iachini has to have some incriminating pics hit under that hat. Hey-o!
Yeah, something.
Compromising pictures. Oh. All right, we go Udinese and Parma. Hernani in the 26th. Just 2 minutes later, Samir, the team's most vulnerable after they score.
Yep.
And Samir, this Thomas Owejan is pretty interesting. Just from what little bit I've been able to watch of him so far, the left wing back for Udinese. Jacoponi on the own goal to put Udinese ahead 2-1. It would be Jan Caramo making it 2-2 in the 70th minute. And then Ignacio Pusetto coming back over from Watford to Udinese, where the Pozzos are doing this really incestuous thing, bouncing players between the two clubs that they own. Now he was at Udinese, now to Watford, now he's at Udinese. Also, Okaka has been at Watford and Udinese. And then they connect on the winner for the Friuli to give them a 3-2 win. Roma smashing Benevento by a final of 5-2. Though the lead would come through Caprari in the 5th minute. Pedro to equalize. Aiden Dzeko in the 35th. They could have been 3-1 up at halftime. A goal for Mkhitaryan getting canceled in that moment. 55th minute, Lapadula has his penalty saved, but he follows it in 2-2. Veretout with a penalty to make it 3-2. Aiden Dzeko again for Mkhitaryan to make it 4-2. And then Carlos Perez coming in off the substitutes bench. A goal of the week candidate. Great individual effort. 5-2 to Roma. And we were all excited. 41 goals through 9 games. Do we think we're going to get the abacus out? No. Hellas Verona and Genoa showed up and played.
You didn't watch it, did you?
No.
I felt bad for anyone who watched that game.
Well, Hellas Verona tried to get something. I mean, they had 10 shots on target. So Mattia Perin had 10 saves. So Hellas Verona they were at least trying to win. The Genoa defense was slightly better than what they trotted out against Napoli.
Yeah.
Masiello still sucks, but it's a sad state of affairs when your best central defender might be Lord Zapata.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness.
Mattia Bani got to start in there. Poor bastard. He's got to play with that. He's got to play with that shit. He's so much better than the team he's playing. I mean,
yeah.
But he also left that game injured. Again, another team that I look at this team, and I think the only guy I would take out of this, Bedell was terrible. I'm just looking at it. I'm going to pick on Genoa just about every time. I mean, it's pathetic. But Sabora played left wing back, and he was an Atalanta guy.
Yep.
So, but another Atalanta guy looking really, really good in his appearances for Hellas Verona. This Adrian Tomasi.
Yeah.
Another solid game from him. Faraoni. We're just trying to look for the bright spots in what was a 0-0 draw. Yeah, Hellas Verona certainly tried to put in an effort, and they were stopped by the wall that was Mattia Perin with 10 saves. Thoughts on those games?
A lot of goals, which is great to see. Bologna, Sassuolo kind of lived with what I expected. At least I expect a lot of goals in that game, and it came in bunches. Good overall. I mean, I was quietly surprised at Udinese Parma. Two bad teams, scoring a lot of goals. I thought it would just be another 0-0 game. I'm happy for EDF. Starting to get some wins here. Giampaolo is still struggling to figure it out with Torino, which is his seat's got to be getting warmer and warmer as the season goes on. I don't know.
I mean, I think Vito Doria, I thought I saw a comment from him on Twitter. Yeah. As someone that's relatively familiar with the way Giampaolo does things, being a Sampdoria supporter, he says, it's not showing up in the results yet for Torino, but you're starting to see signs of Torino starting to show signs of what a Giampaolo managed team could look like. When it was going well for Sampdoria, when it was going well for Empoli, it's just not turning up in results yet. And if Cairo and if Torino supporters give it a little more time, eventually this is going to come around. So, there's that.
Hopefully they pick up enough points in between then, because if not, Cairo can get a little trigger happy.
Sure. Absolutely. Serie A is back, baby. Of course it is.
That's right.
What's that? Well, Lazio. Is this just overlooking a team in advance of the Champions League? There have been some very weird performances from them, and most notably, when you take a look at where goals are getting conceded, they're giving goals up to center forwards, but they're getting smashed by fullbacks and wingbacks. I mean, Atalanta, Hateboer and Gosens teed off on them. Perisic set up the goal in the Lazio-Inter game for Lautaro, and Augello, let's keep an eye on this kid. He's promising. Yeah. Had a field day. It prompted me to pick in my Champions League lineups in daily fantasy. It prompted me to pick Guerrero with Holland. With Holland against Lazio, because I say, look, if wingbacks and forwards are going to kill these guys, I want in on it. So, and Holland got his goal, and Guerrero actually did well. I think that
Lazio's has been, I don't know, weird with me this season. It doesn't seem like they're quite ready there in Serie A.
Yeah.
Maybe they just did overlook Sampdoria. They're like, okay, it's going to be easy win. We're going to play Dortmund. Let's focus on that, which they obviously did. That's the only thing I can think of, because this whole season's been like, maybe they're just like, they're trying to do well this time. Like, to your point with Atalanta trying to do better at the start of the group stages, maybe they're trying to do the same thing Lazio are, because they're notoriously poor starters, usually get bounced quickly in the European game. So maybe they're trying to change that up, and that kind of distracted them slightly. Because the lineup was fairly decent. Was it their best lineup? No, but still had a pretty good lineup. SMS is out there. So I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird one for me. Maybe Sampdoria are better than we thought. Maybe.
But this is, when we were previewing this season, we were going with the information that we had on Sampdoria, and now you take a look at what they did in the Mercato after that preview, and getting Candreva, getting Kate Tebalde, and patching this together. And with Ranieri
right?
Yeah. And with Ranieri can be capable of as a manager.
Yeah.
They're going to end up, that's a team that I'm sorry that I put them where I did. I had them surviving, but I had them I think 16th or 17th or somewhere in there. I actually think they're going to be on the top part of the bottom half. I think they're going to be 11th, 12th, kind of in that range. It's not out of the question, given the quality that they've assembled. So that's interesting. Sassuolo, are you a believer?
I've been a believer. I have not been a believer.
We touted them. Nobody else did.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm quite ready to put them in the European spots just yet. I want to see them against some of the bigger boys, but they can score. And that's something important when you play those kind of teams, because, if you do get behind, they're one of those teams that can get behind and have so much confidence to get back into it, kind of like Atalanta did last year, where they go down in a game, just storm right back, don't care. Granted, it's Bologna, but still, a team that can do that, you got to be wary of. And they can be good defensively when they want to. This is one of the few games that they give up a lot of goals, as of late. So yeah, I'm certainly a believer. Absolutely.
I like them a lot.
And no Boga yet. And Boga hasn't even got going yet. Wait till he gets in back and gets going. I mean, that they're gonna be scary.
Yeah, I mean, right now they sit second in the table, and it's only 4 games in. But I mean, 13 goals through 4 games. Only Atalanta has more.
Exactly.
They have one more than Napoli. And fine. Let's look who they played. It hasn't been, but they were 3-1 down against Bologna.
Gonzalez is in the house. He says, "Why do you guys think Berardi is underrated?" Similar numbers to Chiesa. I would argue better number to Chiesa. At least if you're looking from an optics standpoint, I think he's been playing a lot better than Chiesa. Berardi is just early on. He had so much hype to him, and I think when he never lived to that early hype, people have said, "Okay, I'm just going to not even worry about you, forget about you." And he's been quietly getting better and better every year. His leadership is growing. He's formed a great partner. He's found a great thing over there at Sassuolo. I think the best thing he did was stay there and not move on from there, because rumors were that he'd go to Juventus or something like that. He stayed there, really honed his craft, kind of like Locatelli is doing right now. And he's really finding himself. And we saw when he played with the Azzurri too. He played well there too, I thought. He has the vision. He can shoot. He can score goals, obviously. So I don't know why. I think it's just people overlooked him once he never met that hype at the early age. I don't know.
I think that he had some years there where he had some injury issues.
Yeah.
He had to come back from that. He was in a Sassuolo team that, prior to these last 12 to 18 months had been struggling, had been, bottom half. And, you just kind of maybe associate the form of players with that. And, did Serbia has come in. He's brought in a system. He's brought in a system that those players clearly believe in. And they play to it, and they play to the strengths of players like Berardi. So it's worked out really well. I think he's underrated because he plays on Sassuolo. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah. If he was doing this on one of the big 6 clubs, we'd be talking about him as being one of the best players in the world. You'd be talking about him being rumored to go to all these different clubs in Europe. But he has stayed put at Sassuolo, and he's gotten it done there. So, this is a team that scored 4 goals 3 games in a row, and then they had the 1-1 draw to start against Cagliari where they could have scored 4 there. They had a lot of chances. Yeah. They're going to create chances, and they're going to score goals, and they're going to win games by scoring more goals than you. They're not a team that's built to keep anybody out. So if they get a 2-0 lead, they're going to go look for a third goal. That's just how they play. That's how they're going to be situated. And I think they are going to be a big problem. Friday, they are at home against Torino. I think that's going to be a beatdown. But I'll get Torino, who Belotti comes up for those games. He scores he likes to score the spectacular goals.
It'll be something like 4-2 or something,
Yep. So we'll see. But Sassuolo, I think, are a contender for a European place. I think they're a contender. I have them 7th. I think they'll finish 7th.
Yeah.
I think,
but yeah, absolutely. Can certainly get
there. We're big believers in the Nero Verdi over here at Serie A Sitdown. Yep. So, the rest of it, Fiorentina, we kind of hinted on. It's just unbelievable how Iachini keeps dropping points here. It's just like how he continues to mismanage games with this Fiorentina squad.
Yeah, and maybe the reason I don't know what I honestly don't know what's going on over there, Fiorentina, and their team is maybe not as good as it had been quality wise. They've always underperformed because they had quality players just underperformed. Now they're okay. Players, I like the moves that they made this offseason, but there's games that they could have won. They dropped many points, like you said, with Iachini, and he can't be lasting too much longer, especially if he does more of this stuff, because they need to find the right coach. They keep going with these older coaches who have no proven track record of victory, success. And they need to find someone. And there was someone I was thinking about last week after our podcast that would be a great fit for them. And now it escapes me. But they need to stop looking at these guys who just don't have a proven history. Ventura, people talk about Ventura like, no, don't even look his way anymore. Just leave him be. Let him retire in happiness or something. Yep. But Iachini, he doesn't have it anymore, and he needs to just maybe step away as well. Chloe
Beresford suggested something about, hey, Maurizio Sarri is without a job right now.
Yes, that was it. And I think she hit the nail on the head there. I think that'll be interesting for him too to kind of get out of that spotlight, but be still with a relevant club, a team. If he could do well with them, which I think he could with his tactics, he could be a local hero there for them. They revere him almost as much as they do in Napoli. Well, they did.
Without a doubt. I actually like that fit and I like that idea.
Yeah.
So, the only other thing, I looked there and I saw, I couldn't believe that Genoa has a win. And I remember it was that season opener against Crotone that they won 4-1. But Parma right now under Liverani is just Lecce 2.0 until they prove otherwise.
Yeah, and we talked about this in the preview pod with in the preview pod we talked about who was on the hot seat and who was going to be questionable to be one of the first guys fired. And Liverani, I said Liverani was up there. He wasn't my number one, but he was up there because the way he's played in the past, with Lecce and stuff like that, he doesn't know how to play to his players' strengths. He doesn't, last year Parma looked pretty good, They had all their offensive talent. Yes, they lost some bodies, but what Parma has done well in the last couple of seasons is you lose some players and you just find new players to step up. And Liverani can't bring those out of the players. The players, I don't know if they just haven't bought into a system yet or what, but they ain't look like they're doomed for relegation. I hope not, because we love seeing them out there in Serie. But he just is not at least with Parma and his previous job, he just weren't good fits for them, and it just continues to show game in and game out with Parma. They look clueless out there and giving up goals left and right, and you're not going to win this league. You're not going to survive in this league giving up goals like that. Right.
Prior to that game, Udinese hadn't scored a goal.
Exactly.
They scored 3. This Thomas Uijan had something to do with it. This kid, here's our new player that is crossing balls in before he even gets off the bus.
Yeah,
17 crosses in this game.
Wow.
4 chances created. He had the assist on the Samir goal. Not doing any shooting, but he's crossing the shit out of the ball.
Yep.
And not a bad idea when you got guys like Okaka and Lasagna up front.
Exactly.
Not a bad idea. Just Juve wanted to say hello. Ciao. We're going to talk about you here in a minute. We're going to talk about your Champions League game. Probably a good segue. But what were your 5 goals of the week?
My 5 goals of the week are going to be different from yours. And ciao, Giuseppe. Welcome to the show. If you guys haven't done so, I'm going to give him a shout out because follow his YouTube page. If you're a Juventini fan or not, follow him. His YouTube is freaking fantastic. Give him a follow. Let's see. My top 5 honorable mentions, and I'm going to get nailed for my picks here, but I don't care. Paredes, his solo goal, I thought was really good. That's an honorable mention for me. Another honorable mention is Morata, an assist from Chiesa. I thought it was a nice little play between the two for the goal there. My number 5, I'm going with the debut goal or the first goal in Serie A for Osimhen. I'm just going to give it to him and just pulling heartstrings there. It wasn't the greatest goals, but it's his first goal, so he gets number 5 for me. Number 4 for me is actually your number 1, I think. Zlatan, his second goal. Brilliant play overall, from the Salamaker's move to the Leao cross to the finish. I love that goal. Comes in number 4, though, for me. Number 3 for me is Irving Lozano's second goal. I really like the placement of the shot there, just the whole play in general, just tearing up Napoli's defense. Number 2 for me actually is going to be Damsgaard from Sampdoria. The improvisation that he had to do the cheeky little chip over to the defender to get free and then finish it off nicely in the top corner. Lovely goal, lovely skill by the youngster. That's number 2 for me. And number 1 is actually going to be Matteo Politano. I thought his left-footed strike the top corner was a brilliant shot. Just put the nail in the coffin for Napoli against Atalanta. So that's my top
5. In general, I'm with you. I will go with. I don't have Osimhen in mind though. Carlos Perez is my 5th. The individual goal that he scored for Roma against Benevento. Lozano's second goal, like you pointed out, that's in at number 4 for me. No problem there. I do like the Damsgaard goal. That's in at number 3. Number 2, I'm going with the Politano curler. And then number 1 for me, it won the derby, and it was a clinical counterattack goal. Zlatan Ibrahimovic's goal, his second in the derby to win the match 2-1, is my goal of the week. Winners and losers, the winner for me is Milan. To win the derby, to be top of the table, to be on this incredible unbeaten run. Yeah, I look behind me, bias aside. Yeah, I know. bias aside, they're just on all cylinders right now, and they're finding ways to win in so many different ways. They're going to lose a game at some point. They're going to drop points at some point. It's inevitable. But what a run that they're on right now. And the loser for me is Parma. I mean, it's just it's not looking good under Liverani. I don't see signs of improvement. I see a team that's going to give up a lot of cheap goals as we go, just like it was at Lecce under his watch. So Morata's second goal at Crotone was fantastic. I think
an honorable mention there. Yep.
His second goal was the one that was VAR overturned.
That's true. That's right. 1-1 that game. That's right.
I know what he's doing there. So Milan's my winner. Parma's my loser.
All right. My winners this week are going to be, since you went Milan, I'm going to go Napoli. I thought their dismantling of Atalanta was fantastic. They looked brilliant. The passing was just so smooth in that game. Obviously played with a chip on their shoulder after again losing a point and a forfeit in the game against Juventus, or the ghost game against Juventus. So they're my winners of the week. My losers, I'm going to go with Lazio. I think 3-0 shock defeat to Sampdoria. Unexplicable when a team that can't afford to lose points, especially come to the end of the season. They're a team that I found they're going to drop more than most teams in the top half of the table. I have in a Europa League spot at the moment, and playing like this, losing 3 points to a team that you should win, it's going to come to haunt them at the end of the season. When teams like Sassuolo and some of these other teams that are nipping around the edge, that could be a big tale at the end of the season where you're like, what happened? Oh, we had a stupid loss to Sampdoria 3-0 early in the season. That's my inexplicable to me. I mean, if it was a draw, it'd be one thing, but 3-0, it was just a poor game for them. Sure. They're my losers.
Okay. Your winners and losers, your goal of the week. Tell us. Go to @Sitdown on Twitter or Instagram. Champions League, we're actually recording when we're right in the middle of it. It's actually Juve is the losers. Why are we always so nice? And they were terrible against Crotone. Yeah, I agree, but I mean, Parma sucked. I mean, by comparison.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
that's true.
At least in my opinion. Champions League. Do you want to take these or? I watched them.
Yeah. Let's go. Let me pull my scores up here. And I was looking at the chat group. The chat was had some conversations going there. So let me pull up the Champions League. The two teams that that we were looking at this week, today I should say, was obviously going to be Dynamo Kiev hosting Juventus, and then obviously Lazio hosting Dortmund. We'll start first with the early game. The game that we both thought that Juventus was going to win this game going into this. It was going to be difficult because it always is going to Ukraine. Any of those clubs out there, Shakhtar, Dynamo, whatever, they usually play very tough at home. This game wasn't a easy game, to say the least, for sure. But Juventus found a way to win. Alvaro Morata scored a goal in the 46th minute to bring him up 1-0 just after halftime. And then he would get his brace late in the game, the 84th minute assist from Cuadrado. Good game overall, solid game by Juventus. They win 2-0 on the road. Surprised about that victory? Anything surprised you about that? I mean, it's pretty straight up for Juventus there.
Yeah, I mean, I had a 1-1 draw when I predicted this.
I got the game right. It's one of the few times I get it right. I said 2-0.
Good call. I just thought with Ronaldo not available to go, McKenna not available to go, you're going to have a kind of a patch together team and going to the Ukraine, which is a very difficult road trip. And then I think in Dynamo Kiev's case, if they wanted to be a contender for one of the top two spots, for reaching the knockout rounds, this was a game they simply had to win, home win against Juventus. And they were disappointing given the quality that they have, because I've watched this Dynamo Kiev team play a couple of times heading into this Champions League. Tsigankov's a good specialist, very technical. DePena's skilled. This Shaparenko is going to get paid in another country big time. I think there's a lot of potential with him. And Bushchan has been in some relatively good form and has turned up some performances in some big games. He was big for Ukraine in their win over Spain. He was big for Dynamo Kiev in terms of qualifying for the league stage, and I think he made like 7 or 8 saves against Ghent. So I thought that the pieces were there for Dynamo to really give Juventus a hard time, and the first half was kind of, just watching that. You saw some danger coming from Morata. Wasn't much in the first half. That was coming from Kulishevsky. It was coming from Chiesa. Ramsey coming forward. I think that those were the danger guys for Juve. Second half, Morata takes advantage after some good work around from the rest of the team, and Bushchan can't hold on to a shot. Bushchan was uncharacteristically nervous in this game, and I think that he performed poorly, and then which gifted Morata the first goal, and then Juve were able to cruise the rest of the way. And all they got to do is get the second to kill the game off, which is what they did. I don't know if it was a necessarily dominant performance from Juve, but given the way Dynamo Kiev performed, Juve didn't have to be dominant.
Yeah, Stevie said on the chat, Dynamo was terrible. They made Juve look better than they were. It was a victory. We thought it was never going to be a easy walk home victory by Juventus, but we thought they were going to have either get a draw or a win. We thought they would do well, and they did. So it's a pretty standard result there. And then the other game that we had today was the bigger game, which we weren't sure how this would have gone. Lazio against high-flying Dortmund. Certainly an interesting team. Lazio, they brought out with their lineup. I mean, looking at their lineup real quick, because I was surprised, considering what they had against Sampdoria. Obviously, they're resting some players. Starkosha obviously in goal, but in back three of Acerbi, Luis Felipe, and Patrick. Patrick, many people were giving him stick after that Sampdoria game. Midfield, you had Maricic, Milankovic-Savic, Leva, who had a really good game, Luis Alberto, Faras, Immobile, and Correa. They came out quick in this game, and they surprised a lot of folks with a 3-1 victory in this game. It was goals by Immobile obviously gets a goal. My app stops working all of a sudden. Immobile gets a goal in the 6th minute. Hits gets an own goal in the 23rd minute. I thought it was Correa's goal, but own goal, it doesn't matter. Lazio fans don't care. It's 2-0 at that point. 2-0 at halftime. Erling Haaland would get his goal as he normally does in the 71st minute, but that was answered quickly by the substitute Akpa Akpro in the 76th minute. So 3-1 victory, a very, very fine victory that not many people, including Laziale, saw coming.
I watched this game. And I don't see some of the things that others did from what happened in this game. Lazio didn't dominate this game. No. They didn't. They didn't dominate this game. They were opportunistic. The Immobile goal came from Borussia playing out of the back and playing awfully casual. The Bellingham start over Gio Reyna perplexed me big time.
Very questionable.
And Bellingham's responsible for the first goal getting scored, an underhit pass, and Correa jumps on it, gives it to Immobile. They score. They take the 1-0 lead, and then it's 2-0 on a corner, and it was Alberto to Luis Felipe, and then it was Hintz that own goaled it. That's one of those that either you give him you could give him the old goal, you can give it to Luis Felipe, and I wouldn't have argued either way. So I thought with the way the game was going, I think that just Borussia failed to execute. And when I looked at the team lineups, going into this, I thought Borussia was going to win 2-1. And when I looked at the team lineups, and I look at what we were talking about earlier, Lazio getting killed by fullbacks, wingbacks, and forwards. And
yeah,
you got Meunier and Guerrero, and you've got Haaland. And I'm looking at this, and I said, well, this is as good as anything Lazio has faced. This could be a problem. And then you watch the way Borussia set up, and I didn't understand it. It felt like they were trying to do everything in the middle. Everything was narrow. They were trying to do everything off of Haaland instead of trying to spring Guerrero and Meunier, or maybe even trying to get Sancho into those wide areas where he could do some damage. I was very, very shocked with the way Dortmund approached the game. And they played into that midfield shape of Lucas and Sergei and Luis Alberto. I mean, I felt like Dortmund just handed this game over to Lazio. Lazio won. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for Serie A. But Laziale are out there with their chest stuck out that they did this, and Jerry was saying that they controlled the mid. They didn't control the midfield. It's easy to control the midfield when the opponent plays narrow and plays right into you. All you got to do is just sit there and wait for them to make a mistake, and Dortmund made enough mistakes. The third goal was pathetic defensively from Borussia Dortmund all around, because Lazio were outnumbered in every facet. When they played Immobile through, they had, Hummels getting over there. They had numbers. Delaney pays no attention to Akpa Akpro coming forward, is just stuck staring at the ball. And Immobile just, says, thank you very much. I'm going to pass it to my guy, and he's going to tuck it in. Again, it was poor, from Dortmund. It was but you know what? If you're going to win games like this, you got to take advantage of when a team is playing poorly like that. And that's what Lazio did.
100%.
So I found this to be an opportunistic 3 points for Lazio. I don't think they were dominant. I don't think they controlled the game. I think that Dortmund gave this thing away in a lot of areas that caught me by surprise.
I think what we had here was obviously Dortmund played sloppy, but I think they overlooked Lazio, maybe thinking they were still hiding mighty how flying they're scoring a lot of goals. They thought that they was going to walk in there and be able to get an easy 3 points in there. Not starting Gio Reyna, who's arguably their best player this season. He's been pulling all the strings.
That was a big mistake.
It was a huge mistake, and obviously their game plan went out the window there. They're obviously resting him for the derby coming up this weekend. So you put in Bellingham, like you said, they should be exploiting the wing backs of Lazio and on the wings, both sides, as everybody else is doing this season. And they obviously watch no tape of Lazio because they would have done that. And playing through the middle, trying to feed Haaland because obviously your playmaker isn't in there, and Gio Reyna. Sancho is still again acclimated back into the lineup. So it was a poor decision by them, and it doesn't surprise me. Lucien Favre, he has his moments where he's just like, "What the hell are you thinking, man?" But Lazio did finish off their chances. That's what you want them to do. While it wasn't the most dominating performance by them, they finished off, and I think that's what's important for them, because if they walked away with us a draw or even a loss in this game, that could have really shot their confidence coming off of that 3-0 defeat to Sampdoria. This where I think kind of equals things back out for them, and they can get back into the rhythm of Serie A and get back in the Champions League and build off of this, because it was a team that we fully expected would have pushed them to the limit. It's like you said, the best team they've probably faced all year so far. Now they can at least ride off of that, and maybe the players are gonna be playing with their chest out and get more confidence. Who knows? But I don't know.
You just hate Dortmund.
I do. I hate
them. Tomorrow's games. Yeah, let's start with Inter and Mönchengladbach. Inter coming off the derby loss. Mönchengladbach in a little bit of indifferent form. I think they had a get-right game, I think, before the international break. I didn't see how they did last weekend. You might know that. But attacking-wise, Mönchengladbach will have a much different dynamic than what Milan brought. You don't have the big play as a forward, but he's not the target that Ibra is. But what's going to be a problem if this is the same back three starting, and we'll have to see what Conte rolls out. But if this is the same back three starting, this could be a game where a player like Marcus Thuram could smash. Because it's up his alley. He's going to have a field day in and around Kolarov. Yeah. They drew against Wolfsburg. Thank you. And that's not bad considering what Inter has going for them is that Mönchengladbach can stink defensively. Am I wrong in my assessment of them, or you've seen them enough from watching some Bundesliga through watching Schalke? Tell us about what Inter have to look forward to.
Yeah, I think you guys are hitting the nail on the head. Is that if they use that same back three that Milan got to face, it's going to be a longer day than they want, Inter, because you're right. Thuram, Stindl, if he's out there, he's playing, he can do some damage. Hoffman as well. Plie to your credit as well. So they got some playmakers on that team, and you don't overlook them. They were very good last season. They pushed all the big boys to the limit last year. They faded at the end. They were the winter champions. So. They have some players on their team, and I know Briel and Bull might get some time here and there, but he's not that greatest. But the other four guys I mentioned, they can really turn games and get some goals in there, some playmakers. So Inter better be wary of them, I think, and hopefully they get Bastoni in there for their sake and Skriniar maybe to help out, because having Kolarov back there, that's gonna be a bad idea, I think, all day long. Maybe Ambrosio will get away with, but Kolarov certainly not.
Is Playa going to be available? Because he wasn't even on the bench. He didn't start and wasn't even on the bench in the Wolfsburg game. Now that I'm looking at it,
I don't know if he's injured or what's going on with him. I have to look at that.
They have Mbolo, they have Ibrahima Traore.
Yep, and Hoffman started on the right side, Stindl in the middle, and Thuram in the left. So yeah, not sure why Playa isn't playing, but Thuram is certainly a dangerous player there. So be careful of him.
Then started the Wolfsburg game. Ben Sebaini is normally the left back. Is he going to see with Hakimi on that right side, is Ben Sebaini the kind of guy that we're going to get the same kind of issues that Teo had to deal with, where he's going to have to absorb so much that it's going to be hard for him to contribute going forward?
I think so. And to be fair, anyone who goes up against Hakimi is going to have that issue going all season long, unless they get defensive help from their forwards. I think it's going to be a tough game for him, because I think I can see Hakimi, he has experience against Gladbach, so he knows them very well. So he's going to be able to exploit that right-hand side, I think, and they're going to get some success coming through him on the right-hand side, no doubt about it.
And Ben Sebaini is another one of those that, in not necessarily as forceful and physical as Teo, but technical. Yep. And wants to get forward, and wants to contribute to the attack. So it's going to be it's probably going to be a concession for him, in that sense. So Atalanta traveling to Midtjylland. This is a Midtjylland team that can score goals, and the way Atalanta's defending, this isn't a done deal for them. Yeah, everybody will look at them and they'll say the minnows of this group with Liverpool and Ajax, and while on paper that's very true. This is an Atalanta team that right now has a lot of issues with the way they defend. And I'm not confident with that going in. I still think they're going to win the game, but I think that this is a game that's going to have some goals in it. I think that this could end up being a 3-2 kind of game, a 4-2 kind of game that will go Atalanta's way. Because for what they can offer, what Midtjylland can offer going forward, I think that there are going to be some issues for them defensively.
Yeah, with all the teams in this group, I don't know if you're going to see any zeros in any of these games. I think all these teams can score goals. But yeah, I think it's going to be a more difficult game than Atalanta are expecting, than any of these other three teams in the league are in the group are going to expect. But I think last week we said something like a 4-2 scoreline or something, and I can see that, because I can see Midtjylland getting some goals in there, making it make Atalanta think about it a little bit. But I think they're going to be able to get some goals in there, because I think Atalanta are ready for the Champions League to do better than they did last year, at least to start off. So we'll see how that shapes up.
And it's interesting with Midtjylland, because when they won the Danish Super League last year, they did it with defense. They only conceded 14 goals in 26 games. So something to keep your eye on. This season, though, they're off to a start where they're giving up a goal per game. They've scored 7. So they're kind of scoring at the same rate, but they've got some quality going forward that can give you some trouble. Evander is a talent. Dreyer is a talent. So they've got some pieces. Now, when you look at what they've done in the league, they've scored. They had a 3-1 win over OB. They had a 2-2 draw. Just to kind of give you an idea of the scores, they beat Slavia Prague 4-1 in the return leg in the playoffs. So that'll tell you something about what their capabilities are going forward. But they're not afraid of getting into that, kind of digging deep and digging out a 1-0 result either. But they're not going to be in for a 1-0 result here. No. They're going to have to get into a goal fight with Atalanta. They have the ability to do it. I just think that it's going to be one of those where Atalanta just outscore them. Like I said, I think this is a 3-2, 4-2 win for Atalanta, and they get back on track after what happened at Sao Paulo.
Yep, I agree with you 100%.
Yep. Poor Frank Lampard can't beat Sevilla 0-0. The only one of the week. Well, you know what, Stevie? Sevilla is pretty damn good, and Lopetegui sets them up to defend. I had a feeling that Chelsea was going to struggle in that game today.
They didn't win last year, didn't they? In the Europa League.
They beat Inter and took it down. So yeah, I'd say that was good.
Who beat Inter? Milan. Hey-o.
Yeah, they did. They did. Salute. Roma travel to Young Boys. That's an actual team name. That's not meant to be disgusting. Milan travel to Celtic. Napoli hosting AZ Alkmaar. All of our Serie A teams really right off the bat with some tricky Europa League games.
Yeah. And we even got a question about this from Milano Miguel. He asked, what are your predictions for Milan's Europa League group? Can they win that group? It's a fairly difficult group. I mean, they can get by. They can certainly win. I think they're going to win this group, but it's going to be harder than they thought. Maybe not Rio Ave hard, but it's going to be difficult, I think. And they're going to get wins, I think, but it's not going to be anything like a 4-1 or anything. I think we're going to see like maybe 2-0s, 2-1s here, 1-0. Nothing that's going to be like, they're destroying teams. I think all these teams are fairly decent. At least Celtic can be at home. On the road, and not so much. Of course, they lost to they lost to the Rangers this weekend in their big derby. Yeah, nothing at home, so maybe not.
Hopefully, Jens Petter Hauge gets a full game versus Celtic. It's very possible. Hakan Çalhanoğlu sprained his ankle in training and will not be expected to play on Thursday. You can't expect Ibra to play on Thursday. So I think you're going to see some rotation in this team, and Hauge is going to be in contention for a spot. I think you're going to see the likes of Tonali, Diaz, getting in there. I don't know if you can afford to rotate your center backs, but Dallo, I think, is going to get thrown in there in some capacity as well. So we'll see. Roma traveling to Young Boys. Young Boys have some players that can cause you some problems in attack. They've been a thorn in some people's side. The issue for them is the issue with Mönchengladbach. They don't defend very well. Yeah. And they can be susceptible in those situations. AZ Alkmaar is your typical Dutch team. They're going to have some dangerous attacking players, some people you're going to have to be careful for. Ultimately, Napoli should win that game.
Did you hear the latest update about AZ Alkmaar?
No.
So they had 13 players test positive for COVID.
Oh, geez.
But apparently they're going to still go forward with the game. They have enough players to play the game, and so apparently the game's going to still go on. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully Napoli shows up to this game. But yeah, what I read today, I'm pretty sure, someone can correct me in the chat, but I'm pretty sure that the 13 players tested positive for COVID for AZ Alkmaar. But they, like I said, they have reserves, and they'll still play. They're still intending to play at this moment.
I'm going to go 2-1 to Roma at Young Boys, 2-1 to Milan at Celtic, and I'll go 3-0 Napoli over AZ Alkmaar, knowing that information.
Yeah, if that's the case, I like that scoreline with Napoli. Milan, you said 2-1. Yeah, I'll go with that. And then Roma, I'm really liking Roma's midfield at the moment. Whether they're going to start all those boys in this game or not, I don't know, but I do see them with victory. I'm going to go 2-0 Roma.
2-0 Roma. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think Young Boys will be able to nick one with the players that they have. So we'll see. This is gambling with people's health. Everybody's going to jam this thing in. We'll have to see what the ramifications are after that game is played. So, we'll see about that. So that's our European roundup. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. Time for Who Won Calcio Twitter. Let's see.
Well, I'll start with the first one. This is the first one that came out, and this comes from Nico. He says, and he tweeted this early on. This is on the 15th, so last Thursday. He says, every Juventus podcast talking about how they deserve the 3 points versus against the Napoli match, and there's 3 young boys just sitting there talking about it.
Lovely.
That's awesome.
Yep. That is a good one. So moving on, Real Don and Yelly is on the board. Known Napoli supporter and pot dealer Vinny Spadafora should stick to eating Johnny cakes and not play a very dangerous game by insulting Ronaldo's dignity. Not enough he tried to steal our 3 earned points. We're not in Naples anymore. My Super League will respect rules and protocols.
Oh, the Don.
I think the Sopranos reference is what got him on the board.
Yeah.
And then I think when I had put that on there, I said, this guy should be able to do better than this. And he said, you know how hard it is. I came back and I told him, you're being held to a higher standard, Mr. President. I'm not the sporting judge that hands out default wins.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with all that, but it was pretty funny. Next one on the list. Thank you for Giovanni for pointing us in this direction. Obviously, maybe it's obvious to me, but I don't know about anybody else. A lot of memes have been going out with lately with Thomas Muller of Bayern Munich. with the expression he had, and so people were going off of this. And so Matt Laneve says after the Napoli game, "Gol Seaman." So yeah, it's pretty funny, pretty clever. I like it.
Do you ever watch those? There's this cartoon called 4 Tunes. This guy that makes these these video cartoon clips, and it's and the caricature of Thomas Muller is just meant to be a comedian until like make really stupid jokes.
Yeah.
So that kind of works. So did Art Morelli get back in for a nominee?
He did, but this is he admitted this afterwards. This is actually Jerry's. So I'm gonna mention Jerry's tweet. So Jerry tweeted out. This is about the Napoli-Atalanta game, and it said, the commentator for the Napoli versus Atalanta game just asked, would Juventus sit back on the 4-0 lead versus Atalanta? Yes, they would, and he thinks otherwise. This guy is clearly in orbit. He's got to make fun of the commentator. It's funny that the whole conversation in that game about that was pretty hard.
Are we giving credit to Jerry Mancini on this? Or
credit on Jerry on this.
Okay, because Art wins too much. Is that what we're doing? We're
he got more in this, so he's not out of the woods yet. So
okay. Our friend Nima at Nima Tavrud, Brozovic as regista, Barella as trequartista, and Eriksson as substitutista.
I like that. That was good.
Well played.
Good. Well, you wanted Art, and you get Art. Art Morelli. Generoids versus Gianpieroids. It's a picture of Mertens and Osimhen.
Oh, geez. Okay. Let's see. Official SSC Napoli. This was presented to us by our friend Rafa over there at the Far From Vesuvius podcast. La SSCN ci tiene a fare gli auguri all'Atalanta BC per I suoi oh God, I did the number 113. My Italian is
you'll be forgiven. I don't know if C will forgive you, but
I can't count that high. Ani 113 Ani, screw it. I'll mix. Which is the SSCN is keen to do the auguri at Atalanta BC for its 113 years. The A replaced with a 4 and the I replaced with a 1. That's throwing shade.
Oh man. Next one on the list is Mark Galliani at ACMARUK. He says a goal every 45 minutes, 163 years old. So you look at the top goal scorers in the league, and Zlatan scoring a goal every 45 minutes. That's ridiculous. Irving Lozano's up there too. It's every goal every 60 minutes. So, but yeah, funny. Zlatan is old. I don't know if he's quite 163, but he's getting there. He's getting there.
He wasn't talking about Pandev, huh?
No, he wasn't.
So.
No, he wasn't.
Oh man, Wanda Nada is on the board with her hugging Icardi. Sin amor no hay derby. Felicitaciones a mis amigos del Milan.
Without love in the derby, it's just so funny. This is so funny how you see this. There's no love in the derby. From Wanda, and she says, congratulations to my friends in Milan. Totally throwing shade at Milan with this. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's on Instagram, but hey, someone tweeted it on Twitter, so we'll count that.
Right.
All right. What do we got next?
Caserta Campagna is back on the board. Or actually, he nominated at Zilulife, Zielulife. Ecco come pensava fosse questo campionato il maestro Andrea Pirlo, Tavolino e Subutio. This is how Maestro Andrea Pirlo thought his championship was. Coffee table and Subutio.
It's funny how we keep sticking you with all the Italian ones.
Love a Subutio name. My Italian sounded good today, too. Subutio making a comeback and turning up on the Who Won Calcio Twitter contest.
Yeah, look at that.
Pretty slick. So you got the next one here?
Yep. Next one, another one from Nino at ASR Curva Sud 1927. Hey, at Serie Sitdown, I still can't believe how Lazio came back from a 3-0 defeat to beat Sampdoria 4-3. Much respect from the Romanisti, and he totally photoshopped the scoreline. Put 4 for Lazio, and the goal scorers were David Silva in the 91st minute, Kumbula in the 92nd minute, Immobile in the 94th minute, and Piola in the 97th minute. Epic comeback by Lazio.
Would have been funnier if it was Canalia in the 94th minute and not Immobile.
This one's going to be up there in the.
This is a good. That's a good one. That is a good one. Saturnian at Saturnian 96. Can't believe the hardest game Milan faced this season was Rio Ave. This was after winning the derby.
Awesome. That was a great tweet. I definitely laughed hard at that one.
Yep.
We had Napoli involved in the tweets earlier. Now we have AS Roma English as well. And it was the music after the game. So this all started from Scott Monroe, friend of the show. He says whoever AS Roma is in charge of the goal music loved the Blink-182 choices, and so they played all the Smallings. Get it? Nicely done, AS Roma.
Very, very smart.
Let's see what we got next. That's where we did that one. I know there's another one for Art. Here we go. Hey, Andrew Cesare gets one in here.
Yeah, he gets it. Let's read this one.
This is from La Liga, but I thought it was pretty funny. Frustrated
Valencia fans have hired a mariachi band to follow the club's directors.
And they just literally follow them around town and play music around. That's gonna be awesome to watch.
That's
all right.
That's creative.
I'm upset that no one gave me credit for mine, but whatever. It can be a little lewd. I get it. But here, the king is back looking for a three-peat or a third title. Mr. Art Morelli says, so IFTV came out with a post and it says, who makes the bigger differences for his club, Zlatan or Ronaldo? So naturally, Art's going to chime in on this for his point. He says the answer is obviously CR7. He has single-handedly bankrupted Juventus, turning them into a debt-ridden wasteland. It's so bad to win the Champions League that they've turned to a rookie manager who only 2 weeks ago turned in his thesis double space and Futura font size. Oh, Art. Art.
Oh, goodness.
Art.
All right. We got some good ones.
Yeah. We got some good. It's tough ones. If you guys are in the chat, what was your favorite ones? There were some good ones in there. My personal one, I'm going to go with the hardest match being Rio Ave Saturnian 96 or whatever his handle is. That was funny.
Cento Tridiki. There we go. Cento Tridiki. I brain farted over it when I was reading it. So, but it happens. So I can count. I know that 2 is greater than 1.
This is true. And Tracy know that too now.
Yeah.
So, what was your favorite? What was your favorite?
Oh my! I you know what? Just for the nostalgia, I'm torn. I love the Subbuteo one.
I thought you were going to say Wanda.
The Wanda one is great. Subbuteo, Wanda, and ASR Curva Sud 1927 is in there, I think, as a nominee, and then Saturnian.
Yeah.
I think it's down to those 4.
Yeah, I like Saturnian 96 with the Rio Ave comment. I laughed really hard. I laughed the hardest out of all the ones. That was the funniest one for me. Maybe because it's so unexpected. I don't know.
Stevie reading the number in Italian has to be the winner,
huh? Stevie.
It's actually, I have to confess, it's actually pathetic. I don't know that much Italian. I know enough to get by, and I don't think I've ever had to count that high in Italian. So
Stevie says, Madonna mia. Hey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I'm dealing with Calcio, when am I ever using the number 113? And maybe I might end up using it on somebody's career goals, but
or with Atalanta scoring a goal here and there,
they could score 113 goals this season, right?
Oh yeah, they might actually. So
so
do we have a winner? I mean,
I'm going with you know what, the Subbuteo, the Subbuteo one is great. From at Ziliu Life. I mean, the creativity to bring Subbuteo back into our lives.
Get some bonus credit for that. So
yep. So that's my winner.
And I'll go Saturnian 96. The Rio Ave comment. That's a winner for me. Sorry, Art, you didn't get your third title this time. All right.
I'm putting that in right now.
Okay, very good.
All right. So that is my winner. And then your winner, you said, was Saturnian?
96, yes.
He has been on the board before, but I think that this is a first win for him.
Oh, okay.
if I'm not mistaken. So Saturnian 96. At R_Carmen selects this.
I like the Art Morelli's one for sure, but the Rio Ave comment just got me laughing a little bit more than his did. So
yeah, and for the nostalgia of winning the Derby.
yeah, well, that too.
All right, there we are. So awesome. So we have co-winners Saturnian 96 and Zhiyun Life in there, and it looks like Art Morelli's already off to a start with trying to win next week. Did you see what he just posted?
No, I didn't.
Sandro Tonali at Milan, and it's this video of this kid that is like got this sandwich in his hand and he's dancing and he falls and he breaks his wrist.
I expect nothing from him.
All right, I think that's an early entry for next week.
All right.
Well, with that, I think we're putting a bow on this edition of Serie Sit Down. I'm going to stop embarrassing myself trying to count in Italian. Shameless plug time, Richard.
Oh, yes, shameless plug. I'm going to let's see. I'm going to plug the people who've been on the chat here, especially those, the podcast, Just Juve, Milan Weekly Podcast, and everyone who's been in the chat group. You guys were really amazing with all the comments and questions. Good to see Lisi on here. It's been a while since seeing him on there. Yeah. George, as always, some of the regulars. Speedy Gonzalez. So thank you to all for who joined us on the chat. So thank you.
Excellent. You want to tell them where they can find you, or are you just?
They can find me at where's this thing? There we go. At R_KHARMAN on Twitter or anywhere on social media.
I'm at FTC_21. Serie Sit Down. We have our own channel on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud. You can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever there's podcasts. There is Serie Sit Down. There's this YouTube channel. Drop a like, subscribe so that you can get notification for whenever we are ready to hit you with another edition of Serie Sit Down, or if we've got a special video out, because we do those too. At Serie Sit Down on Twitter or Instagram, or you can follow us on Facebook as well. We're all over the social media circuit. And the likes of Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg find us to be too small to be confiscated or censored. So we don't have to worry about that.
That's right.
So go to those social media if you want to hear, if you got any questions for us to answer on future podcasts or any topics that you want us to tackle. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to give you our take on those. We'll do it again next week. Milan, Roma, marquee game.
Yeah.
What else we got on next week's slate? We might as well take a sneak peek at that before we sign off. We said we had Sassuolo and Torino on Friday. Saturday we have Atalanta, Sampdoria, Genoa, Inter, Lazio, Bologna.
Mm-hmm.
On Sunday we have Cagliari, Crotone. If you are an insomniac, Benevento, Napoli. Parma, Spezia, Fiorentina, Udinese, Juve, Hellas Verona. Juve, Hellas Verona will be halfway intriguing, actually. And then Milan, Roma on Monday. Celtic v Milan on Thursday, absolutely. Looking forward to that. Thank you all, chat. Awesome job. Way to keep it entertaining. Way to drop in with the input as well. Love having you guys keep coming along. Keep making our show what it is. And for Richard, I am Frank. Thanks as always, and be sure you tell your paisans about us. Ciao.